The Atlantic Ocean stretches endlessly in every direction, its steel gray waves rolling under an overcast sky. June 4th, 1944, 11:09 a.m. 150 miles off the coast of what the maps call French West Africa, but what the war has turned into a deadly hunting ground. Lieutenant Junior Grade Albert David checks his .45 caliber pistol for the third time this morning. At 24, he's already seen more action than most men see in a lifetime. But something feels different today. The USS Pillsbury cuts through the swells as part of Task Group 22.3, 6 American warships prowling these waters like mechanical sharks. What David doesn't know is that his commanding officer, Captain Daniel Gallery, has been secretly preparing for this moment for months. While other Navy captains follow standard protocol, detect, attack, sink, Gallery has been drilling his men in something far more dangerous. Something that goes against every rule in the book. Capture, don't sink. The order seems insane. No one captures a submarine at sea. When a U-boat surfaces, it's dying. And dying things are desperate. They fight with the fury of cornered animals. They scuttle themselves rather than surrender their secrets. In 129 years, the U.S. Navy hasn't captured an enemy warship on the high seas. But Gallery knows something his superiors don't. He knows that somewhere in the dark depths below, German submarines carry the most valuable prize in the entire war. Not gold, not weapons, something infinitely more precious. The Germans call their encryption system Enigma, a machine so mathematically complex that their engineers boast it would take every mathematician on Earth working together for several lifetimes to break even a single message. The Wehrmacht trusts it completely. U-boat commanders send their positions, their fuel levels, their attack plans, everything, using Enigma encryption. They believe it's unbreakable. They're about to be catastrophically wrong. David runs his thumb along his pistol grip and stares out at the seemingly empty ocean. Somewhere beneath these waves, a German-type Windsee submarine is running low on fuel, desperately trying to reach home. Its captain, Oberleutnant Zursee Harold Lange, commands what the German Navy considers an unlucky boat. U-505 has earned a reputation for mechanical failures, broken commanders, and missions that never quite succeed. Today, that luck is about to run out completely. In the Combat Information Center of USS Guadalcanal, radar operators watch green blips dance across their screens. Sonar operators listen through headphones for the telltale sounds of steel moving through water. Fighter pilots warm up their F-4F Wildcats on the carrier deck, ready to launch at a moment's notice. None of them know that in approximately 8 minutes, they're about to pull off the most audacious intelligence coup in naval history. The question isn't whether they'll find the enemy. The question is whether they'll be brave enough to capture Germany's deepest secret. 300 feet below the surface, Harold Lang peers through U-505's periscope at what should be empty ocean. At 31, he's already survived more patrols than most U-boat commanders ever will. But survival in 1944 requires different skills than it did in 1941, when German submarines ruled these waters like underwater kings. The happy time is over. Lange knows the statistics that keep him awake during his brief rest periods. In 1942, German U-boats sank over 6 million tons of Allied shipping. Now, in 1944, the hunters have become the hunted. Allied convoy escorts have evolved from helpless sheep into deadly wolves. Radar technology that didn't exist 2 years ago now tracks submarines from miles away. The ocean that once felt infinite now feels like a shrinking cage. But Lang has absolute faith in one thing: Enigma. Every message he sends passes through the most sophisticated encryption device ever created. 3 rotors, sometimes 4, spinning through millions of possible combinations. Even if the Americans somehow intercepted every transmission, Their mathematicians would need decades to decode a single word. German engineers have run the calculations repeatedly. The machine is mathematically perfect. What Lange doesn't know is that far above him, American cryptographers have been reading German submarine communications for months. Not perfectly, not every message, but enough to know that a U-boat is operating in this general area. Enough to send Task Group 22.3 hunting. Captain Gallery paces the bridge of USS Guadalcanal like a caged predator. At 44, he's spent his entire adult life preparing for moments like this. He's sunk 2 U-boats in the past month, U-515 and U-68, but sinking submarines destroys their secrets along with their hulls. Gallery wants something more valuable than a kill count. He wants intelligence. For weeks, Gallery has been drilling his destroyer crews in boarding tactics that most naval officers consider suicidal. Standard doctrine says wounded submarines are death traps. Flooding compartments, explosive scuttling charges, desperate crews fighting to the end. Smart commanders keep their distance and finish the job with torpedoes. But Gallery isn't interested in being smart. He's interested in being first. "Sir," the radio crackles from USS Shetland. "Possible sound contact bearing 270. Gallery's pulse quickens. His destroyer captains know the drill. They've practiced this scenario dozens of times, always against Gallery's explicit orders from Naval Command. If they're caught training for captures instead of kills, Gallery could face court-martial. If they succeed, they could change the war. The sonar operator aboard Shetland adjusts his headphones, listening to the metallic pings echoing back from the deep. 60 feet down, something large and steel is moving through the water. The acoustic signature matches German submarine construction, the distinctive sound of a Type 9 hull cutting through the Atlantic. "Contact evaluated as U-boat," Shetland reports. Without waiting for orders from Gallery, Shetland's captain initiates the attack. This is exactly what Gallery has trained them for: initiative, aggression, speed. Hesitation gets submarines away. Boldness gets results. The first pattern of depth charges erupts beneath U-505 like underwater thunder. Inside the submarine, Lange feels his boat roll violently to starboard. Emergency lighting flickers. Men grab handholds to keep from being thrown against steel bulkheads. "Damage report!" Lange shouts. The responses come back in clipped German. Flooding in the aft compartments. Rudder controls damaged. Auxiliary systems failing. U-505 is hurt, but not yet dying. Lange makes the calculation that every U-boat commander dreads: surface and fight, or stay down and drown. Above, Gallery watches 2 F-4F Wildcat fighters roar off Guadalcanal's flight deck. Within minutes, they're circling the attack zone, their pilots scanning the water for any sign of oil slicks or debris. What they see instead makes their hearts race. A submarine, running just below the surface, clearly visible in the clear Atlantic water. "Guadalcanal, this is Wildcat 1, the radio crackles. "We have visual on the sub. She's making turns, heading north-northeast." Gallery grabs his microphone. This is the moment he's been preparing for since taking command. Success means intelligence gold. Failure means dead sailors and a court-martial. "All ships, this is Gallery. Execute capture protocol. Repeat, capture, not sink." The order violates every standard operating procedure in the U.S. Navy manual. It's dangerous, unprecedented, and completely unauthorized. It's also exactly what the war needs. USS Pillsbury, USS Pope, and USS Jenks race toward the contact coordinates at flank speed. Their crews man battle stations, but with a crucial difference. They're loading anti-personnel ammunition instead of armor-piercing shells. They want to disable the submarine's crew, not destroy the boat itself. In the depths, Harold Lange faces the decision that will define the rest of his life. His submarine is flooding, his rudder is jammed. American destroyers, are converging on his position from 3 directions. The Enigma machine sits in U-505's radio room, along with 10 bags of codebooks containing the German Navy's most precious secrets. Lang orders his boat to surface. He has no idea he's about to hand the Americans the keys to the Third Reich's most closely guarded mystery. At 11:17 a.m., U-505 breaks the surface of the Atlantic like a wounded whale, seawater cascading from her conning tower as she wallows in the swells. For a split second, the ocean holds its breath. Then chaos erupts. Harold Lang emerges from the submarine's hatch and finds himself staring at a sight that turns his blood to ice. 5 American destroyers have materialized around his boat in a perfect tactical formation, their gun barrels trained on his position from less than 800 yards away. It's like surfacing in the middle of a firing squad. "Mein Gott," he whispers. The first burst of machine gun fire comes from USS Chatelain, yell 50 caliber rounds stitching across U-505's deck, plating like deadly rain. Then USS Pillsbury opens up with her 20mm guns, followed by Pope and Jenks with their 40mm cannons. The sound is deafening, a metallic thunder that drowns out human voices and human thought. This isn't meant to sink the submarine. Captain Gallery's orders are specific. Wound the crew, panic them into abandoning ship, but keep the boat intact. Anti-personnel rounds, not armor-piercing. Controlled violence, not destruction. German sailors pour from U-505's hatches like ants from a burning nest. Some try to man the submarine's deck guns, but dive for cover as American bullets spark off steel around them. Others leap directly into the Atlantic, preferring the ocean's cold embrace to the hot metal flying above their heads. Lange takes a round through his thigh and stumbles against the conning tower. His executive officer, trying to reach the deck gun, catches a burst of 50 caliber fire in the chest and dies instantly. Blood spreads across U-505's gray deck plates. "Abandon ship," Lang screams in German. "Scuttle the boat." But panic makes men forget their training. The German crew opens the ballast tank vents and flooding valves, standard scuttling procedure, but in their terror, they fail to properly set the demolition charges that would guarantee the submarine's destruction. They're too busy trying not to die. Aboard USS Guadalcanal, Gallery watches the scene through binoculars with the cold satisfaction of a chess master executing a perfect gambit. Everything is unfolding exactly as he drilled his crews to expect. The Germans are abandoning ship. The submarine is still afloat. "Cease fire! Away boarding parties!" Gallery broadcast. The gunfire stops as suddenly as it began, leaving only the sound of waves slapping against steel hulls and German voices calling for help in the water. USS Pillsbury swings her whaleboat into the water with 8 enlisted men and 1 very brave officer. Lieutenant Junior Grade Albert David checks his .45 pistol one final time and looks at his boarding party. Torpedo Man's mate Arthur Knispel grips a Thompson submachine gun with white knuckles. Radio Man Stanley WWII clutches a bag of hand grenades. They're all scared. Only an idiot wouldn't be scared. But they're professionals. The whaleboat races across the choppy water toward U-505, which is now circling slowly to starboard with her rudder jammed hard right. David has to time their approach perfectly. Too slow, and the submarine might sink. Too fast, and they'll miss their chance. To board. "Remember," David shouts over the engine noise, "we don't know what's waiting below. Could be booby traps. Could be Germans with machine guns. Could be flooding compartments ready to drag us down. Stay sharp." The whaleboat cuts inside U-505's turning circle, matching speed with the circling submarine. At exactly the right moment, David leaps from the boat onto the submarine's wet, slippery deck. Knispel and WWII follow, then the rest of the boarding party. They're committed now, no turning back. The first thing David notices is the dead German sailor sprawled near the conning tower, blood pooling around his body. The second thing he notices is the sound of rushing water coming from below. U-505 is flooding, and fast. "Down the hatch," David orders. "Knispel, WWII, you're with me." The three Americans plunge through U-505's conning tower hatch into the unknown darkness below, weapons ready, hearts hammering. They could be diving into a death trap. German submariners are trained to booby-trap their boats. Demolition charges could detonate at any second. Armed crewmen could be waiting in the shadows. Instead, they find an empty submarine slowly filling with seawater. "Clear," David shouts. "No personnel below." But the submarine is dying. Water pours through an 8-inch bilge strainer where the cover has been knocked off. All the ballast vents are open. U-505 is settling deeper by the minute, her deck already awash. "Find that bilge cover," David orders. "Close those vents." While Knispel and WWII race through the flooding compartments, frantically spinning valve wheels and searching for the missing strainer cover, David makes his way to the radio room. What he finds there makes him forget about the rising water, forget about the danger, forget about everything except the intelligence treasure scattered around the small compartment. 2 Enigma machines sit bolted to a steel table, their complex rotors and wiring exposed like the mechanical brains they are. But even more valuable are the canvas bags scattered around the room. 10 sacks containing codebooks, cipher tables, communication procedures, and technical manuals. 900 pounds of German naval secrets. David has never seen an Enigma machine before, but he knows what he's looking at. Every Allied intelligence officer has been briefed on the German encryption system. These machines represent the mathematical heart of German military communications. In the wrong hands, they're just elaborate typewriters. In the right hands, they're weapons that could end the war. "Got it," Knispel shouts from the forward compartment. The bilge strainer cover slams back into place, and the deadly rush of incoming water slows to a manageable leak. Meanwhile, a second boarding party from USS Guadalcanal arrives under Commander Earl Trocino, the carrier's chief engineer. Trocino takes one look at the flooding situation and immediately orders all non-essential personnel topside. The submarine is riding so low that waves are washing over the conning tower hatch. If she goes down now, everyone inside dies. But nobody's leaving without the intelligence. David and his men work with desperate efficiency, hauling bag after bag of codebooks up through the conning tower hatch. The Enigma machines are bolted down, but they manage to secure the rotor wheels and cipher settings, the keys that unlock Germany's most precious secrets. USS Pillsbury tries to come alongside for a tow, but U-505's jammed rudder makes her circle continuously to starboard. When Pillsbury finally gets a line aboard, the two ships swing together, and U-505's bowplanes tear a gash in the destroyer's hull below the waterline. "Ride 'em, cowboy," gallery broadcasts from Guadalcanal, watching the scene unfold like a maritime rodeo. Finally, USS Guadalcanal herself moves in to take the submarine under tow. The massive escort carrier uses her bulk to stabilize U-505's wild circling, and slowly, very slowly, the strange procession begins moving toward the horizon. U-505 flies 2 flags now, her original German naval ensign and, above it, a large American flag. The symbolism is unmistakable. Germany's unbreakable encryption system now belongs to the United States Navy. In the water around the captured submarine, 58 German sailors float in life preservers, watching their most guarded secrets sail away under enemy colors. They have no idea what they've just lost. They won't find out for 30 years. For 15 days, U-505 limps across the Atlantic under American tow, flying that strange dual flag arrangement that tells the story of modern warfare's greatest intelligence coup. The German prisoners, rescued from the water and held aboard USS Guadalcanal, watch their former submarine disappear into the distance, never suspecting they've witnessed the capture of their nation's deepest cryptographic secrets. Albert David, Arthur Nispel, and Stanley Dowiak become instant heroes, though they can't tell anyone why. David receives the Medal of Honor, the first time in 129 years that decoration is awarded for capturing rather than sinking an enemy vessel. Nispel and Dowiak each receive the Navy Cross, but their real achievement remains classified at the highest levels of government. The intelligence harvest from those 8 minutes of chaos exceeds every Allied codebreaker's wildest dreams. 900 pounds of German naval codebooks, 2 complete Enigma machines with their rotors intact, cipher tables showing German encryption procedures for the next several months, technical manuals explaining U-boat construction and capabilities, navigation charts revealing German submarine patrol routes. But perhaps most valuable of all, proof that Germany's naval commanders still have absolute faith in Enigma's security. American cryptographers at the Navy's communications intelligence facility work around the clock analyzing the captured material. What they discover revolutionizes the Battle of the Atlantic overnight. German submarine positions, previously educated guesses based on partial intercepts, become precise coordinates. U-boat fuel levels, attack plans, and patrol routes are suddenly readable in real time. The effect on German submarine operations is devastating, though the Germans never understand why. U-boat losses, already climbing throughout 1944, accelerate dramatically in the months following U-505's capture. German submarines find Allied convoys waiting for them with destroyer escorts positioned exactly where they plan to attack. Fuel supply submarines arrive at rendezvous points to find American hunter-killer groups instead of thirsty U-boats. Admiral Karl Dönitz, commander of the German submarine fleet, orders investigation after investigation into what he calls impossible enemy intelligence. His staff conducts security reviews, changes communication procedures, and even executes suspected spies. They never consider that their mathematically perfect encryption system might be compromised. How could it be? The German engineers who designed Enigma calculated that breaking the system would require more computing power than existed on Earth. Even if someone somehow captured a machine, they would still need the daily cipher settings to read any messages, and those settings changed every 24 hours. What the Germans don't know is that Captain Gallery's audacious capture delivered not just the machines, but months of future cipher settings. The captured codebooks contain German naval communication procedures extending well into 1945. American codebreakers can now read German submarine messages faster than German submarine commanders can decrypt them for their own crews. The war in the Atlantic shifts decisively in favor of the Allies. German U-boat wolf packs that once terrorized Allied shipping find themselves hunted to extinction by destroyers that seem to possess supernatural knowledge of their movements. The siege of Britain, which threatened to starve the island nation into surrender, crumbles as Allied convoys reach their destinations with minimal losses. But the greatest intelligence triumph remains the fact that Germany never suspects what happened. Harold Lang and his surviving crew members are secretly imprisoned at Camp Ruston in Louisiana, held in violation of the Geneva Conventions to prevent any word of U-505's capture from reaching German intelligence. As far as the German Navy knows, U-505 was sunk with all hands. Her loss is recorded as just another casualty in a war that's grinding inexorably toward defeat. The secret holds for 30 years. Not until 1974, long after the war's end, do German naval veterans learn that their unbreakable Enigma system was compromised. When the Allied code-breaking efforts are finally declassified, former U-boat commanders react with stunned disbelief. Many refuse to accept that their mathematical masterpiece could have been defeated by what they consider primitive Allied technology. Today, U-505 sits in the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, her hull preserved exactly as American sailors found her on that June morning in 1944. Visitors can walk through her cramped compartments and see the radio room where two Enigma machines once held Germany's most precious secrets. But the submarine's real monument isn't in Chicago. It's in the shortened war that followed her capture. The thousands of Allied lives saved by superior intelligence and the mathematical proof that no code, no matter how sophisticated, can protect secrets from human courage. 8 minutes of desperate boarding action changed the course of World War II, not through firepower or technology, but through the oldest military virtue of all, audacity in the face of impossible odds. The Germans believed their Enigma system was unbreakable. They were wrong about a lot of things that day.